Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo Story. Big move by India. The Indus Waters Treaty that was signed between India and Pakistan in the 1960s has been suspended. The MEA a short while ago gave a press conference where they said that the Indus Water Treaty will be held in abeyance. Now, this comes after the terror attack in Pahalgam, where innocent tourists were cornered and ambushed by terrorists and killed. A group of tourists, 26 tourists, were gunned down by terrorists in Kashmir. Now, this comes as a part of retaliation by India, the Indus Waters Treaty that's been suspended now. And also, besides that, the integrated checkpost, the Attari checkpost, will be closed with immediate effect. That's another big move by India. India making it clear that all those steps are being taken which were being discussed upon as a part of the retaliation on Pakistan. You can see on that press conference on the screen, that was the press conference given. The other point is that Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India via SAARC visas, and India will be withdrawing its own defense from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. Those are the big MEA statement that has just come about. Joining us is now is Prabhu Dayal, former ambassador. Welcome to Mojo Story, Prabhu Dayal ji. What is your first reaction after this big move? This was in the realm of ideas that India could possibly suspend the Indus Water Treaty. It has never happened so far. First time India has taken this big move and suspended the Indus Water Treaty.
Well, certainly it is going to send a very tough message to Pakistan. The Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vikram Misri, himself said that recognizing the seriousness of this terrorist attack, the Cabinet Committee on Security has decided on certain measures. And this step, that is suspending the Indus Waters Treaty of 1960, is a very major step because it will hurt Pakistan. And certainly it will send across a message that we are taking action because of Pakistan's support for cross-border terrorism. The other steps also which have been mentioned, such as the integrated checkpost at Attari will be closed with immediate effect, and those who have crossed over with valid endorsements should return through that route before 1st August. And then the scaling down of the respective high commissions, the demand that the defense, military, naval, and air advisors of the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi should leave because they have been declared persona non grata, and that India is also withdrawing its own defense, navy, and air advisors from Islamabad. This sends a very clear message that some very strong and decisive action is going to be taken by India. And I'm sure the message has gone across to Pakistan. As regards the downsizing of the High Commission, the Pakistan High Commission here in India is a nest of spies. It is a den of spies. And it has been carrying out anti India activities from the very beginning. So it's very good that there is this downsizing and that the Pakistan High Commission is going to be under more and more scrutiny because it's always up to mischief. But nonetheless, as I said, the government of India has mentioned these initial steps, but this is the first tranche. There will be more measures which will be coming. Action is going to be taken, and frankly speaking, the message is very clear. We can do anything that we want to, nothing is off the table.
Nothing is off the table. Obviously, that is the clear messaging from India. But for the benefit of our viewers, there are 6 rivers, 3 flowing from Punjab and 3 flowing from Jammu and Kashmir. Ravi, Bias, and Satluj from Punjab, and Jhelum, Chenab, and Sindh from Jammu and Kashmir. Now, 3 rivers from Jammu and Kashmir go to Pakistan. India cannot construct dams to store that water. And once this treaty is suspended, that water can be diverted. According to the Indus Water Treaty, the 3 rivers of Punjab, India has right over those 3 rivers, and the 3 rivers from Jammu and Kashmir that flow into Pakistan, Pakistan have the rights over these 3 rivers. But Prabhu Dayalji, there have been many terrorist attacks in the past. There was Uri, there was Pulwama, There were decisive action taken by India, but never was the Indus Waters Treaty suspended, because it was always said that this is water and water can't be stopped. But perhaps Pakistan has crossed the red line this time, and that is precisely the reason that India has taken this big move.
Certainly, India has taken this very big and important step, and the message should go across to Pakistan that we will not stand any nonsense in terms of cross border terrorism, and we mean business. So, I think that, as I said, this is just the first tranche. There will be more steps announced, and more than that, there will be action. Government will not just talk. There will be some very decisive action, and I am expecting something very, very tough, which will hit Pakistan in a big way.
General Katoj, this seems to be just the beginning. That these big moves that we are talking about, this seems to be just the beginning of the part of the retaliation that India will start now, because we've been seeing those visuals of those tourists in distress running here and there, getting killed. Just the time when they were enjoying their day in Pahalgam, they were all going on ponies and horsebacks, they were cornered. You can see on those visuals, those are the visuals that the country has seen, and there is simmering anger, and this is just the beginning of Indian retaliation.
Absolutely, Zafar. In the morning also we discussed some of the possible actions, and I had specifically mentioned, I said the Indus Water Treaty is going to be high up on that list. Now, very rightly, actually, the treaty hasn't been abrogated. It has simply been suspended. And the wording has been put, I think, a very smart piece of diplomatic language: suspended only so long as terrorism remains, which means the ball is in Pakistan's court. What do you wish to do now? Do you wish to continue with terrorism, or do you wish for peace? Now, the choice is theirs. And I think the water issue is going to be something which will hurt Pakistan very badly, and which will be the strongest leverage for the moment. Now, for water, as far as the Indus water is concerned, there's precious little you can do. Let's be straight about it. The major catchment area is already in Gilgit-Baltistan. As far as the Jhelum is concerned, it will require very serious effort to divert. But when it comes to the Chenab, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. We can deny them 100% of the water of Chenab, and that will kill Pakistan's Punjab. Kill them, absolutely. So now, let us see which way it goes. But as you very rightly pointed out, this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is the first move which has been made in the chessboard. And it will be followed by many moves after this.
Right.
And ultimately, there will be at some form, you're going to get kinetic action. Now, how that kinetic action takes place, to what extent it takes place, that we'll await. But, it is not going to be something as simple as, of course, at that time it was a very great deal as the Balakot strike. It'll be much more than the Balakot strike. It may be many Balakot strikes. It may be, a combined naval, army, air action. It could be anything. It could be a declaration of war at the upper end. So let's see how this goes. But I think it is a very clear messaging, and it is a much required step, because the people of India want action, and obviously the military cannot react, at the whims of the people. The military will make their plans and act on the ground to get the best possible result. So the military's action is not going to be prompted by any such issues, any emotive issues. But as a policy measure, these steps which have been taken, I think, are very, very positive steps, and they send a very clear message.
Right. As they say that military will take its action at the time and place of it is choosing. But coming back to Indus Waters Treaty, General Katoj, I have covered this so many times in Jammu and Kashmir. Chenab River you were talking about flows from Jammu region into Punjab, unlike the Jhelum River, which flows from the Kashmir Valley into
and onto Srinagar.
PO,
Yes.
into POK. So that's the distinction between the two. But it's a World Bank mediated treaty. There have been neutral experts coming to visit those river sites and to do a survey. That's happened many times in the past. Pakistan has been raising concerns about Baglihar. You can see on that screen. Now, there are two phases of Baglihar, Baglihar 1 and Baglihar 2. That's a major hydroelectric power project in Jammu and Kashmir built on the Chenab River. Now, I remember that the World Bank appointed expert came a few years ago and he did the survey, and they used to come year after year. Then there is the Tulbul project in Kashmir Valley, which is actually the Wuller lake, which acts as a storage. And basically, India can only use the run of the river for its projects. It cannot store the waters of the three rivers in Jammu and Kashmir. But why I'm describing all of this? The Indus Waters Treaty essentially stopped people of Jammu and Kashmir from taking benefit of those three rivers, because the three rivers flow to Pakistan and that water cannot be stopped. There cannot be barrage that can be built. So putting that into suspension means that World Bank appointed experts cannot come and do a survey now, and that water can actually be blocked and made good use of for the people in Jammu and Kashmir.
Zafar, there's just on this Indus Water Treaty, may I just give one sentence more to what you have so beautifully pointed out. India can use as much water as is required for the local purposes, for irrigation, for other purposes of the three western rivers. So that has been made very clear in the treaty. So as far as irrigation is concerned, as far as the local usage is concerned, we can use as much as we want. And to the quantum which we are authorized, we are not even using that as of now. That is an historical fact. Now I think we will start using it. If we just take our share, that puts Pakistan in a bind. But now I think we are going to do much more. The point was, this treaty was made with the state of Pakistan, not with the terrorist state. There are two different things. Once we are talking about a terrorist state, we have no dealings with the terrorist state. Let them restore normalcy. Then it's a different kettle of fish. Which is why I'm saying it has been very diplomatically worded. I like the wordings of this treaty, of what the Foreign Secretary has stated. Very, very, very beautifully stated. We are not abrogating the treaty. We are suspending it till such time as Pakistan continues with terrorism. And I think that's a very important point. Till such time as Pakistan continues, we will suspend it and we will do what we please. And that message is going to go across, because anytime in future, if it rakes up again, then a precedent has been set. Now, should Pakistan wish to go to war over this, they're welcome. They're absolutely more than welcome. We'll take them on heads on and we'll defeat them. And this time we will break them into 4 bits. That will be our promise, even regardless of the time, the effort and the money it takes. That will be the result. But we'll break them. No more. This is going to be the final call. There will be no more terrorism after this, after what we do. So it's up to Pakistan. They still have the option of raising the hand of friendship, or they have the option of the harder option. The choice is theirs. Zafar.
Right. Also, we're joined at this point in time by Zafar Chaudhry, senior journalist from Jammu and Kashmir. Zafar Saab, we have been discussing this. It's a big move that India has taken. Never has happened in the past. That treaty has withstood wars, 1971 war, 1965 war. There was a Kargil. There were other times when the tension was at its peak. But this time around, India has taken a decisive move. The Indus Waters Treaty has been suspended till Pakistan stops terrorism. What is your first reaction to this big move by India? Please unmute, Zafar sir. Yeah.
There are 4 or 5 things which have been enumerated by the Foreign Secretary, and the first is that Indus Water Treaty has been kept in abeyance. So there is something that has already been going on that. that in 2016, when this OD attack happened, and the surgical strike was, done in follow-up to that, the Prime Minister had made a statement that blood and water cannot flow together. That was really very significant, and it was understood at that point itself that there has to be something done about the Indus Waters Treaty. Pakistan should be handed down some cost for supporting terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this latest thing that is coming up, that keeping the treaty in abeyance, because the treaty cannot be unilaterally abrogated. Treaty cannot be unilaterally called off because there is a third party, a broker who is
it's a World
involved,
Bank mediated treaty. Yeah.
It's a World Bank broker treaty. So then India is a very civilized country, and there are some international covenants. We are signatory to a number of agreements. So it's not something. What happens when we keep the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance? So how are we going to use the water that is available to us? So this has to be seen, that how are those water mobilized? How are those water used? And this principle of riparianism is already a very difficult political proposition, that we are upper riparian, we can take some decision. Then Pakistan has strategic engagement with China, so Tibet is upper riparian to us. So what happens in that context as well? Because why I'm saying this, that over past 5-6 years, when this discussion has been happening about the Indus Water Treaty, so there have been some voices of this nature coming up as well. So there are 4 or 5 points, but it's very important. I just heard what General Saab was saying already. We were together this afternoon as well, and General Saab was very vociferous in saying that there should not be any business with Pakistan, there should not be any contact with Pakistan. So in terms of suspending travels, visas, etc., that has been done. That is quite significant, quite important. But it's been an hour or less than an hour since these announcements have been made. And today people think a little more on the social media platforms than they think in their private spaces. And so people have started writing about what are they, how are they responding to that? What do they think about the measures which have been proposed by the government of India? I think in wake of the scale of carnage that has happened yesterday in Pahalgam, these measures appear far too little, to say the least. But I'm sure that these are the measures which are announced on a bilateral front, that how do the two countries engage with each other, and this is India's perspective on dealing with Pakistan. There should be something else coming up. I guess that there should be something else as well coming up, because once you saw the body language of our diplomats, the spokesperson and the foreign secretary, when they addressed the press, they said that this is the statement. We are quite busy tonight, and we have to reflect on few other things as well. So which is why we cannot take questions. So I'm sure there are a few other things also coming up. So on the bilateral front, I think this appears to be quite significant, quite important, to give Pakistan a message that we are not ready to deal with you anymore.
And this message has come about very promptly. It's come just a day after this terror attack. India has started its retaliation. It is also
If I may quickly add one thing, this is basically a symbolic thing to announce to India, to announce to Pakistan, and to announce to the world an acknowledgement of the cross-border linkages of the incident of terrorism that happened yesterday. So, an incident of terrorism takes place that involves a lot of investigation to find out that who were the people involved, who gave them the orders, who held the gun, and how this whole thing happened, where was it planned, etc. So that takes a very long time. So this is India's confirmation to Pakistan. This is India's confirmation to world that we believe that there are cross-border linkages to this incident of terrorism. And this is in response to this, that this is how we are going to deal with Pakistan. So I'm sure once this story of the cross-border linkage has been acknowledged and this has been put out in the public, so on the security front, I'm sure that the Indian establishment must be thinking of some other measures as well.
Right. It was a very brief statement by the MEA, very short, where they spelled out a few points very briefly without taking any questions. Let's hear one more time, what exactly did the MEA say about today's big moves.
In the briefing to the CCS, the cross-border linkages of the terrorist attack were brought out. it was noted that this attack came in the wake of the successful holding of the elections in the Union Territory and its steady progress towards economic growth and development. Recognizing the seriousness of this terrorist attack, the CCS decided upon the following measures. 1. The Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. 2. The integrated checkpost Attari will be closed with immediate effect. Those who have crossed over with valid endorsements may return through that route before 1 May 2025. 3. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India under the SAARC Visa Exemption Scheme visas. Any SVES visas issued in the past to Pakistani nationals are deemed cancelled. Any Pakistani national currently in India under SVES visa has 48 hours to leave India. 4. The Defence, Military, Naval and Air Advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own Defence, Navy and Air Advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. These posts in the respective High Commissions are deemed annulled.
Right. You heard it there. You heard it there. That was a brief press statement. The main point, of course, being the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. Zafar Saab, there have been occasions in the past that when it was spoken about that Indus Water Treaty could perhaps be scrapped, could be suspended, but it never happened because, of course, it has a humanitarian angle to it. This is water which is flowing down to Pakistan. And this time around, India has really taken that move and suspended that Underwater Treaty. You and I know that there have been mediators coming and surveying Baglahar project, going to the Kashmir Valley and looking at those projects there. So that will also come to a stop now. This is, of course, going to be a big move, a big signaling by India this time around. This is clearly business not usual.
But yeah, of course, this is very important because this is where it hurts the most. Pakistan is completely stressed because of the water crisis across the region, and the provinces are accusing each other of water usages, so it's not fairly available to all the regions. And then every Pakistani very strongly believes that they are not getting adequate water that India promised through the treaty to them. This is a strong feeling that there may be conflicts within the provinces in Pakistan, but then every Pakistani has a strong feeling of this thing. But I mean, it's a very strong political statement. It's a strong political will as well, and but there could be some substantial steps in future as well. But practically, this does not mean anything immediately. That we are keeping Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. What is it about? There are
what you are trying to explain that immediately water cannot be stopped. There is
exactly.
It needs an infrastructure. It needs a dam. It needs big barrage to stop
exactly.
the water. It cannot happen just overnight.
No, this cannot.
But the signaling, the messaging is very clear in all of this.
The messaging is very clear. I mean, if we have to talk about the treaty, that is a whole science. So, because we haven't been able to use even to the full potential the water which is available to us alone in the treaty, leave aside stopping the water. So we are able to, in a way, because the water which is left unused from our side is getting discharged to Pakistan. So we need to build huge infrastructures to divert that water for the irrigation purposes or for hydroelectric power projects, etc. That needs a very long time and a lot of money to do that as well. So this is an important message because this affects Pakistani very strongly. Even if you say that this is what we are going to do with the treaty, so that triggers a lot of political discussion. There is a pressure that comes on the government, that comes on the army, that God forbids if this thing happens in future. There is a poem that has been quoted by an Indian general in an article in times of India. That is in context of this Indus Water Treaty, the politics that happens in India, and the conflict between India and Pakistan about water sharing and the number of other things. That is a Punjabi couplet that says that Je chanav vich pani, je ravi vich pani koi na, to apni kahani koi na. So people very strongly believe that if there is no water flowing down Chenab, no water flowing down this Indus water system, then there is no story of Pakistan. So I picked it up from an Indian Army general who was the commander of the Western Command. He wrote about, this pragmatism in water sharing arrangement with Pakistan as well. So politically, it's a very strong statement, but water, its distribution is hydraulic, it's science. So that can be debated at some other occasion as well.
Right. And in the wake of that terrorist attack in Pahalgam, there was a meeting that was, of course, chaired by Prime Minister of the CCS, that meeting of the CCS. And afterwards, this press conference happened. You can see the photos of that meeting that was held today at 7 Lok Kalyan Mark, which was chaired by the Prime Minister. You can see that photo, important decisions that were taken there. Another important thing, the integrated checkpost Attari will be closed with immediate effect. This is also very symbolic. We see that a lot of people go there every day, not just people who cross over into Pakistan or those who come from Pakistan, but every day people go just to see that drill, just to be a part of that atmosphere. Every day people go, but once this is closed, so of course all of that will also come to a stop. General Khatoj?
Zafar, with your permission, and with the other Zafar's permission too, because there are two of you, on this Indus Water Treaty, and when Zafar spoke about China, when we are talking about the Yarlung Sangpo and the great bend by which it turns and then comes into Arunachal, it becomes the Siang River at that point of time. It doesn't matter what China does. You can't dam that place, period. They can store a little bit of extra water and all that, but ultimately that has to be the run of the river. They can create a bit of a nuisance, but nothing more. There is no way the Chinese can take that water out. However, when we are looking at the Chenab, it requires a minor irrigation channel to just take the water out. It won't take rocket science. If we have to do it, we'll do it within 6 months. And I think we don't have to take out all the water, just take out enough. And I think that will give a great deal of headache to Pakistan. And I think it's high time we started doing it, because the Indus Water Treaty was very unfair. They got 70% of the water and we got about 30%. So it requires a complete relook. But now I think if the Pakistanis don't learn, then they will learn the hard way. That is one. As far as the Attari checkpoint is concerned, I can speak from experience. I have been there. Now, it is my first observation, many years ago when I went there, I personally thought that the drill which they were doing there was pretty stupid. I mean, come on.
The photo of that drill on the screen right now.
Yes. I mean, I have never found anything more absurd and unprofessional than that. And many years ago, I had recommended, please scrap this. What are you doing? Let the Pakistanis put their army there, put your young women, and let them march properly instead of putting their foot up above their head or something. Who marches like that? Make it a small little, and we don't need to put our men there. Put our women there enough for the Pakistanis. They need to be given different messages. But it's become a tourist spot because for whatever reason or something, and people like this Halla Gulla, I think we need to refine our taste and improve our taste. That is the larger message. But on this particular issue, it is, again, it's not a very significant step in that sense as the Indus water is concerned, but it is still significant enough because people are going through the Attari border onto the Pakistani side, that is Wagah. And closing this border is a very, very strong message that, okay, all contacts are stopped. Zafar, in the afternoon when we were discussing, when Zafar was also there, I made this point. Listen, we need to stop talking to these chaps at all. They are enemies. Let us deal with each other as enemies, and this is one of the steps.
It looks like Jan Sahib, it looks like the Cabinet Committee on Security listened to you.
No, I think these discussions have been going on for quite some time. No, I've even, Zafar, I even wrote for one of the American, for their, they wanted a paper which had to be given to their cabinet. I don't know, what do you call them? Their commission or something.
Right. Congress or Senate.
The Congress, sorry. It had to be presented to the Congress, and they wanted certain views. I wrote in that. I wrote very specific. I said, listen, the question is not that you have to be, why do you have to be friends and fight? Let us be enemies and not fight. That makes much more sense, Let's be enemies and not fight, and, just have a clear line. You live your life, we live our life, and that's it. And we need to develop something, because going this way.
But General Saab, that is not possible also, because suppose that happens and there is a terrorist attack, you are forced to engage in one way or the other.
Then there is war. No, then it should be very clear. Any violation, there will be war. I mean, come on. Can you tell me why is it that, let us say a country like Vietnam doesn't send terrorists to China? I mean, just theoretically. Because there are consequences. Why doesn't any country bordering China, which are smaller countries, send terrorists to China and start bashing them up? Why even in Myanmar, which is a totally, which is an area in, I can say, civil war, why don't those terrorists go and hit Chinese targets? No, because they know there will be consequences. That's the whole point. You see, if the deterrence only works if there are consequences. And if every time we say, no, if we do this, Pakistan will do this, then that is sheer cowardice. Don't do it. You are going to get more and more people killed. It doesn't work. Deterrence works when it is effective. You give a message, and you should be prepared to be hurt. If I am going to hurt somebody, I will be prepared to be hurt. There was, just as a very, on a lighter vein, as cadets in the NDA, the senior cadet used to be, in the 6th term, and he had to call up those junior termers for punishment at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, he would be standing outside too, which means he's also getting punished. But if you want to discipline people, you have to take the punishment. I cannot say that I will keep sleeping and, the world will go around me. It doesn't work that way. So if India has to deliver a message, India must be strong enough to say, we will take it, our people will take it, the way the Israelis said it. We will suffer, we will fight, but we will win. And if that message doesn't go across, there's no deterrence. So these terrorist attacks will keep taking place. This time they killed 27. Next time they'll come take your women and children from the borders, and they'll say, okay, yeah, let's have peace. It doesn't work that way. There has to be deterrence. That is what we discussed in the afternoon.
Right. Zafar Saab, we have heard from Pakistan. Of course, there is a denial from Pakistan. And now after this move, as we were discussing that India has never suspended Indus Waters Treaty. How do you think that Pakistan will react to all these developments that are taking place? It has been made very clear that there is going to be a response, a retaliation. In what form, in what way, when, how, we don't know. That is the job of those people who are making those plans. But Pakistan must also be looking at this situation.
So I don't think that any of these things come as a surprise to Pakistan. So our diplomatic relationships are already at their lowest since the Bangladesh war in 1971-72. So there hasn't been, it's been bare minimum contact, bare minimum staff strength on both levels. There has not been any sporting ties, any cultural relations, any business, any trade. So nothing has been happening. So practically there has not been anything between India and Pakistan. So the bare minimum of relationship is that, in hours of some crisis or something, you are able to talk to, you have your diplomatic missions there. I remember that, last year, the last Diwali, that was October 2023. So Indian High Commission hosted a large Diwali party in Islamabad. So obviously the people at the mission, that could not have been a decision, a local decision on their own. So governments keep on doing this little bit here and there to readjust relationships. So I'm sure that Pakistan already expected a few things coming of this nature. So this is not any big surprise for them.
Right.
So in terms
And
of Indus Water Treaty, for example, we have, I mean, this is a statement that has come from the Ministry of External Affairs today. We have already taken a more practical measure in that direction, that India has formally moved the World Bank for scrap of the, for renegotiation of the Indus Water Treaty. Because India very strongly believes that it's on. So today we are telling our country that we are, because feeling outraged, we are very angry because of what happened in Pahalgam. So this is a measure that we have proposed. But in our approach to the World Bank, we have said that, this is not fair. And this was, Indus Water Treaty was agreed upon in 1960, on the basis of circumstances those prevailed at that time. So a number of things have changed since then. So the melting of glacier, the rain-fed area, and a number of other things have changed. So we want to have a renegotiation of the treaty. So Pakistan is already fighting it at that front as well. So I think they expect a lot more from India at this time, a lot more than the statement that has come from the MEA.
you mean in terms of retaliation? In terms of retaliation, they would be expecting a far bigger response by India.
Well, I did some, this social listening to find out that what is the chatter that is going on the social media and the Twitter and Facebook and in the media and here and there. So the discussion there is about, what kind of weapons and, what kind of retaliation and how to hold that for how long, how big, etc. So those are the kind of discussions that have been going on there since last evening, actually. So yeah. So in that context, I mean, which is why in my opening remarks, I said that the kind of response that people were expecting, this comes as too little. So, but then, this is just on the bilateral front. There must be something else coming up as well.
And it must just be the beginning. And there, quickly before we wrap up, there are other things also in that statement. We spoke briefly about the Attari checkpost. It's also symbolic, the way that it's being shut with immediate effect. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India. The SAARC visas. India will be withdrawing its own defense from Indian High Commission in Islamabad. Now, those are some of the other things. What do you think they're significant? We know that Indus Water Treaty is a big significant move, but the other things that are also a part of that statement.
So I think the move which probably has to be befitting to what has happened yesterday is somewhere else. So we have just been engaged into this discussion. So people are talking about Indus Water and Wagah Attari and a number of other things. So in the meanwhile, there must be some kind of discussion, some preparation. So actual move is not this.
Okay. This is not the actual move. General Katoch, last word to you before we wrap up. It is just something to keep an engagement at going about it, while the real move will be planned at a different level and can take place at a different time and zone. General Katoch, last word to you before we wrap up.
You see, very quickly, a military response will not be a spur of the moment activity. Diplomatic and other responses can be spur of the moment, but military responses require hard planning and a great deal of coordination. Now, you don't carry out that coordination in peacetime and say, okay, if something happens, we'll do this instantly. It doesn't work that way. Even Americans, when they went into Afghanistan, they didn't go in immediately. They took a long time. They got everything ready and then they moved. We will do likewise. This will be an appropriate response, a befitting response, and a response which the people of India will applaud and the people of Pakistan will regret.
Right. Last word to you, Zafar Saab, before we wrap up.
No, I agree with General Saab. I don't think that there's going to be a knee-jerk reaction immediately. So an anger has been put out, an acknowledgement of the cross-border involvement has been put out in the public. And I think that the Indian political and the security establishment has gone down into a huddle to discuss something more serious, practical, which is doable, which is sustainable, and which is something that creates some kind of deterrence that incident like this don't happen again. So that's what I think.
Right. Of course, we have been discussing the MEA statement, the big Indian move, the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, and other measures that have been taken after the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Thanks so much, Zafar Chaudhry, Major General Dhruv Katouj, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo Story.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.